All right, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be back and sharing some insights from UI with everyone today. So the topic of our conversation this time is what we've come to call energetic attack or energetic intrusions. And this has been, as far as the mainstream society is concerned, it's relatively unknown. But yet this phenomenon plays a very important role or has a very big impact on our everyday decisions and our everyday sense of well-being. So how we're feeling minute to minute, moment to moment. See, an energetic attack or intrusion is where someone else's energy or something else's energy starts interfering with our own. It starts intersecting within our space. And this happens on a regular basis, much of the time beyond our actual awareness. So we're being interfered with, if you like, on an unconscious level, but we are experiencing the impacts on a very conscious level, very much part of our conscious reality. Now, the bulk of people in the world are actually being affected, or even one could say manipulated, through these energetic intrusions. And we have a lot of people in politics that are being affected by these swirls of energy, and we, on a personal level, are being affected as well. So I wanted to shed some light on this topic to help give everyone some freedom around it, some understanding, and of course true power to shift it and be a lot more masterful around it. And feel to mention there are so many phenomena in this universe and that we're actually experiencing as human beings that we're not aware of, but we are in the impact of. So it's important to bring these to light, because whilst they're happening, as we all know, beneath our awareness, we are actually quite powerless and susceptible to them. So it's a pleasure to be able to bring this topic to light. And I got very familiar with this probably 7 or 8 years ago during a UI journey, as I was being shown from UI why I was feeling a particular way. So let's go into some detail and let's tick all the boxes in terms of what do we need to understand. Now, of course, there'll be more to know, but this will give you a great overview. So the first thing is, what is an energetic attack or energetic intrusion? And it can be broken down into a couple of definitions. One is to say when an external energy affects us to a point where it actually knocks us off kilter, where we're no longer feeling grounded and centered or happy or well. And that's the bulk. That's, I guess, the bulk of the energetic intrusions. There are other energetic intrusions that come from other sources. You can call planetary sources, non-physical entities as well. But I'm not going to go into that one so much, because it's not the most common in terms of knocking us around in a negative way. So the energetic attacks I want to talk about are those that are coming from people that we encounter, and much of which are coming from those people that are actually very close to us. So what is an energetic attack, and what does it actually feel like? Now, it can affect us in many different ways. Now, one of the most common energetic attacks is when you catch up with a friend or a relative and you just leave feeling completely drained and exhausted. So their energy is really draining or sucking your energy from you, and then you leave feeling, what the hell happened? I was fine when I went in, and now I feel quite exhausted. That's a very common one. And another one that we tend to find many people experience is the classic shopping center, the mall. going out to the mall and walking around and just feeling again exhausted, or feeling as if you've got these sudden pains or aches just appearing throughout your body. That's a very common one. And one of the most noticeable of all energetic attacks, if you like, is what we call road rage. So if you've been a little bit immune to the former, then being in the car and having someone yell at you and hurl this aggression and abuse, even though you can't necessarily hear it, you can definitely feel it. So that is a form of an energetic attack. Now, how it works is, if you understand that you are made up of awareness. So awareness perceives different energy frequencies. So when a negative or unfriendly frequency comes into your space, you have an awareness around it. Now, the body is one of the first things to flag that to you, because the body, as we've discovered, is this thought reactive substance. It responds to thought. As we know, when we have happy thoughts, we feel good, and when we have negative or self-destructive thoughts, things begin to deteriorate or create pain. Well, the body doesn't delineate between, oh, well, they're your thoughts, so I'm only going to be receptive to your thoughts. Actually, your very being, your physical being, is susceptible to all frequencies of thought from other people as well. And this is why we can feel the impact of road rage or other people's negativity. And then, you go into more subtle examples of energetic attack. And it might be when you're in a room. You might remember being in college or in class, or some studies you're doing now. Or you could be in a class and everyone's kind of expecting you to answer, or it's time for you to present your proposal or idea. And you can feel this subtle pressure to have you fail or not quite express yourself in a powerful way. You might also experience that in family situations, like at Christmas time, Thanksgiving, these big family groups where you feel, why don't I seem to have a voice around these people? Why am I feeling confident and expressed? And so what creates this energetic attack is several-fold. Essentially, the space that people are holding, the thoughts and feelings and beliefs they have about you, creates that energetic attack. So any negative thoughts or negative intentions, well, we can feel that. If they're being directed at us, we can feel that. And that's very much the most common experience. Now, why is understanding energetic attack so important? Predominantly, it affects your health and they affect your enlightenment, so your degree of connection and your consistency of connection. So often we find, from a health perspective, we get a lot of people that come to us and say, I have chronic depression or neck pain or back pain. And surprisingly enough, when we tap into the root cause of this pain or of this emotion, this deep depression, one of the biggest things that we encounter is it's actually not them. They're not the ones creating it directly. They're responsible for allowing it in, which I'm going to talk about shortly, but it's not actually their thoughts and beliefs that are at the cause of the depression, so to speak, or the cause of the pain. So other people's energy in your body, in your space, can be as harmful to us as someone physically punching or pushing or shoving us. So that's a very important reason to look at it, because it does affect our health and well-being the same way our thoughts can affect our health and well-being. Other people's can too. So the more we become immune to external negative forces from other people, the healthier, the more opportunity our body has to stay healthy. Now, I know for myself that I've gone through spouts of depression to realize that it actually wasn't it wasn't my energy at all that was causing it. And it's been amazing to see that the energy of depression is coming from people I know, or people in my family, or people that I've been working with or engaged in some kind of relationship. So it can have a much greater impact than what society understands. And you look at how many people are depressed and going to psychologists or doctors and whatever, or taking medication. And what we found, when we're able to shift that person's energy, the attack, out of that person's body, bang, they're no longer depressed. Now that's the first part of it. And then when we're able to resolve what's letting in that attack to begin with, so it doesn't keep reoccurring, then that person doesn't need to experience that depression anymore. So just have a think. You might have woken up one morning with all this pain in your neck and shoulders, and the first thought is to go to see a chiropractor. And I've experienced this, and I use the UI tools, using a consciousness tool and clearing out that energetic attack, and all of a sudden my neck and shoulders are perfect. And we're so conditioned, I must get a massage or I must go to a chiropractor, but in actual fact what's happened is I had let in an energetic attack during my sleep, which is quite a common thing to do. We're at rest and more vulnerable per se than walking around and being busy in the day. So these energetic attacks can come in anytime and pretty much from anyone. But the biggest thing that allows energetic attacks in, or that, let's say, attracts it in, is when we think about certain people. When we place our awareness onto somebody, could be an ex-husband or an ex-wife or a business partner you're having an issue with, or a parent or a sibling, wherever there is some ill will, if you put your thoughts, your mind, your awareness onto that person, that creates an energetic bridge, and it allows their energy into your space if that's what they're desiring to attack, or they've got some kind of resentment. So this is a first little clue on how to prevent and protect ourselves, is one, to be very disciplined not to be thinking or being aware of putting our mind onto people that you wouldn't necessarily have in your life right here and now. If you're not spending time with them, you don't enjoy their space, then don't spend time, don't occupy yourself thinking about them. The minute you do that, that creates an opportunity for the attack. It's not necessarily going to guarantee an attack, and we'll explain why, and why we get some attacks and why we don't, but it does create that bridge. The same as when we're walking through a shopping centre and we're, a lot of people say, I'm people watching, and you end up looking at people and making eye contact. Well, there's a lot of judgment out there in society, and some of the people might not like who you appear, who you represent, what you're wearing, how you're holding yourself. And so the more we kind of look at these people and make eye contact, the more their energy kind of comes into our space. So that's not to say you can't look at people, but just to be mindful that there are these subtle phenomena out there that can create, unnecessary hardship. So key points there is thinking of people creates that bridge. So again, it just, you are reminding us to stay very focused into our own space, inward focused, and that's a very healthy and enlightened way to be. So let's look at some of the other, causes of energetic attacks. Now, if we get to the root of what facilitates or allows them in, we get to see, as always, that it is our inner reality that is creating our outer reality. And you'll obviously hear me say that a lot. So, whilst when we're being energetically attacked, we can feel in pain or unwell or emotional, and we might even want to feel we're a bit of a victim and we're being hurt by somebody else. At the truth of it, we do have power. We have power to let in energetic attacks, and we also have power to close them down. So the inner reality, if we start looking at what is going on the inside that could be allowing in these energetic attacks. Now, as I said before, we covered looking at people and thinking about people. But beneath that, if we go deeper than that, we get to see some more root causes. And if we go into a belief level, now that's really where our reality is being driven from, at the belief level. Not necessarily the beliefs you're aware of, but those subconscious beliefs that lie hidden from our awareness. Now, what we've come to see is that there are several kind of beliefs that open ourselves to or attract in those energetic intrusions. And the biggest one is beliefs like, I am vulnerable in this world. I am susceptible to others, to attack. I'm naked out there in this world. Any beliefs like that, you've been brought up like that, if you've had a very protective mother or father that always warned you of the dangers out there in the world and how unsafe it all is, well, they're the kind of beliefs that have really left us susceptible, because it's actually weakened our energetic immune system, because we are inherently believing we're not safe, we're at risk. Okay, so you're starting to get to see that beliefs actually are an immunization. The stronger our beliefs, the more oriented our beliefs to self-love and self-belief and safety and protection and strength and empowerment, the more aligned our beliefs are to those energies, well, naturally, the more immune we are energetically, and also the more immune we are physically. So there's a really big hint as to what might be going on to let in these energies. Do you feel safe out there in the world, or do you feel a victim to your environment and susceptible to those around you? That's really one of the key things at the core. You might want to ponder that and just kind of reflect, and is that what's going on for me? Again, you might have awareness or not. None of us like to think of ourselves as vulnerable and susceptible, but if you're getting a reaction from that, from me saying it, then the chances are that it is underneath those layers of, no, that's not me. Great. So let's go a little bit further there, and let's explore what else kind of activates these energetic attacks and further has us be more susceptible. The next thing is beliefs around obligation. So you might have a sense of obligation to an ex-partner, an ex-wife, an ex-husband, a parent, a sibling, an old business partner, a sense of, oh, well, they are looking after my kids, or they are my mum and dad, or I still owe them money, or I still owe them this book that they lent me. Well, I should really spend time with them. They are a relative after all. Wherever there is this sense of obligation and there is this feeling of owing, well, that really attracts the attacks in a lot. So it weakens our energetic immune system, because it's not based in truth. So the common theme is, again, wherever we are out of truth within ourselves, within our belief system, the universe is going to remind us very quickly. And in this case, the reminders are we're letting in attacks. So like we mentioned previously, when we have reactions are showing us what we need to heal. Well, energetic attacks are doing the same thing. They're showing us where we see ourselves as weak and vulnerable. So as frustrating and painful and sometimes debilitating they might be, these energetic attacks are a gift to our awareness and highlighting to us what we need to heal and what we need to clear out of our belief system. And I know over the years, having experienced many, many different levels of energetic attack, how they're able to pinpoint for me where I need to look. Because every time I experience somebody's energy in my space, not only will I clear it, and we teach you guys how to do that in our self-mastery modules, but not only how do I clear it, but more importantly, I go, all right, well, how is that being let in? I'll go into the subconscious, and this is part of module 2, go into subconscious mind and say, all right, subconscious, what allowed that in? And for example, it might come back with, well, you view this person as an enemy, or you still feel guilty because of this, or you still feel a sense of responsibility because of this. So ultimately, the greatest defense or the greatest healing is to, in that space of, well, this is what I'm believing, is to go and find out what the truth is. And that's where the higher self comes in, UI comes into it. When you can get that truth, it fortifies us. So our energy, it's like a shield. So the more in alignment with our truth, and therefore the stronger and more protected we're feeling, other people's thoughts can't penetrate. And not only that, we stop attracting it in altogether. So be on the lookout for that sense of, oh, do I immediately feel drained? Do I feel this sharp pain in my body that seems to have come from nowhere? Do I immediately feel this overwhelm of depression? And where did that come from? Is that even mine? Or am I in the space of somebody else who's depressed? Now, we've had all these experiences where we've had people who are, you know, on the verge of suicide level of depression in our home. And all of a sudden we start feeling, uh-oh, there's a suicidal thought. Why am I having a suicidal thought? And you kind of clue onto that and realize that's not my thoughts. I'm perceiving the frequencies of those around me. And because it's in my awareness, we are, you know, over the years of conditioned to think if it's in my awareness, it's me. Yeah. If it's a thought, it's me. So we start instinctively going, must be my thoughts. But thoughts are coming and going in our awareness all the time, and they're not who we are at all. Thoughts are us. It's not the truth. So start having, I guess, more of an acute sensitivity to what flows are moving in and out of your space. Now, you might be at the supermarket, you might be at a family gathering, and just start being aware. And, you know, like many people, you might come to realize, hang on a second, why am I spending so much time with these people when all they do is energetically attack me? They want me to stay small, they want to cut me down. So that's a very, very interesting point to make, is that the next level of energetic attack is, we looked at physical impacts. The next level is the kind of the mental or emotional impacts. And we tend to find this common in the workforce and also with family functions. There's certain families or family members that have gotten used to who you are as a child. And if you were never someone who was a shining light as a child or a big success as a child, as you start doing things and you're growing quickly, be it through UI or in business or in a relationship, well, that person can feel that. That person is challenged by your growth. So energetically, and sometimes they're not even conscious of it, but they can feel it on a subconscious level, it's pushing their buttons. It's stretching them. It's having them decide, do I grow with them? Yeah. Or do I cut them down? Because they're having me feel inadequate. I can either join them, or I can beat them down, which is where the whole tall poppy syndrome has come from, which is in Australia. It's more of an Australian term, where if you're a tall poppy and you're growing tall, you're being successful and you're shining your light and you're happy, sometimes people want to come down and cut that tall poppy. So they can do that verbally, but cutting is the energetic attack, which is sending you energy to have you feel inadequate, insecure, self-doubting. So you can't trust your decisions, you can't trust your beliefs, or your ideas. And this is something I've experienced a lot as well. Evolving with UI is energetic attacks come in, and all of a sudden you stop having the confidence and faith in what you've brought through from UI, the ideas, your path, your direction, your strategy, whatever it is. Start going, hang on a second, I didn't feel like this yesterday. And then when you tune in, you start seeing this person's in your body, and this person's in your body, and this person's in your body, effectively holding you back from realizing that success. Because in that moment of realizing the success, they're having to go, uh-oh, what does this say about me? And that's very challenging for people. If they're not successful and you're showing them up, well, like I said, they can choose to get a bit of what you've got, learn what's working for you, or they can choose to cut you down. And unfortunately, many people do choose to cut other people down. So these energetic attacks can hit physically and create ailments in the body, and they can hit on a mental, emotional level and have us be disenchanted by who we are and our path and our purpose. And, it's not to judge any of that, it's just to hold an awareness, and it's just strengthening our resolve. So a lot of the opposition when we're moving on our UI path, on our life purpose path, our enlightened path, is energetic. It's not necessarily that you're experiencing physical opposition out there in the world. It's just as you're growing, you're activating those who refuse to grow. And those who refuse to grow are sending you these energetic punches to say, no, you can't grow. We don't want you to grow because you're showing us up, and we don't like that. We don't want to have to grow. We don't want to have to change, and your growth is having us in that conflict. Great. So the next level of energetic attack is really what I'd call on a global level, if you like. And because energetic attack doesn't need to just come from one person. It's all about frequencies and resonance. So you might know several people in your life that are being challenged by who you are, being challenged by your level of growth. And like I said before, you might wake up and you might find not just one person, but your whole family in your body, or the whole office in your body, okay, or your whole congregation at a church. Because if they're of the same belief system, for example, it might be he's growing too fast and we don't like fast growth. If they're all challenged by that one frequency, it kind of brings everyone together to have a bit of a party. Talk about misery likes company. Well, this is at a whole new level. So if some of these frequencies unite groups of people together, and then you might experience that attack on a group level. And you can clear that just as easily, and you can protect yourself against that just as easily. And I guess the next level of that, which I was alluding to earlier, is the global swirls of energy. There are a plethora of frequencies on this planet that we can bring in that are good for us, or that we can bring in and are very negative to us. And you can see, if you look around the world, where these negative energies kind of pull. You look at the countries that are constantly having wars and riots and crime, you can see a lot of this negative energy pulls in certain locations. So not only are people sending energetic attacks, but people are bringing in certain negative energies to them. Now, I remember we knew somebody that was going through a suicidal phase. And what we got to see being in that space of depression, they were actually bringing in the energy of death. And it was just an awful experience. It was in our own house. And it's a very big lesson for us never to allow that into our house and how to prevent that from happening. But they were actually consciously bringing in the energy of death. Like what we do in UI, we bring in the energy of love or self-belief or UI itself. You know, everything has an opposite. So you can bring in the polar opposite, you know, which is where a lot of the dark magic and, you know, witchcraft and all that kind of thing kind of stems around, bringing in the energies that harm rather than the energies that heal. So here was somebody, you know, she was bringing in death. And then, you know, a lot of these negative places bring in the energy of violence and strategies for hurting others. And this is where the ideas for weapons and bombs and landmines and all these things come from, because we're pulling ideas that are already in this field. We've got two minds of truth and non-truth, and we can bring in these different energies. So they're kind of an intrusion in the sense that they come into your space and you take them on as if they're your own thoughts. And the pathway out of that is, again, the discipline. That if I spend all this time thinking, putting my awareness on war, weaponry, drugs, pornography, anything that is of the ego mind, then you just bring it into your space. And that becomes the mind from which your awareness is perceiving. So again, you look at these areas around the world, and they are pulling in hatred energy. And that hating energy, that ego mind, that opposite, is full of very bad ideas. You know, the same way the UI mind of truth is full of incredible, profound ideas. The hating mind, the ego mind, has all these terrible ideas, which is, like I said, where all these, you know, biological warfare and landmines and all of these, you know, atomic bombs and all of these very destructive notions have come from. So the more enlightened we are, the more we're healing these chinks in our armor, the more we're elevating in our awareness, and the more we start bringing in the good ideas, the enlightened ideas, instead of the egoic, self-destructive ideas. And in that space, the more protected and shielded we are from those negative or energetic attacks and energetic intrusions. And I guess I'd like to finish up on this topic on another source of energetic attack, one that you might not necessarily be the first to think of. It's what I call friendly fire. So you guessed it, energetic attacks that are coming from you, right back at you. Now, these are those subtle moments where you might be standing in front of the mirror and criticizing yourself about how you look, how much weight you've gained, or how much you've aged, or how much hair you're losing. And when we say negative things about ourselves, that's negative energy that just goes stick into the body. And we do this great exercise in the self-mastery where you actually get to see what energetic attacks that you're carrying around, and also what energetic attacks that you've caused. You know, we're very quick to blame other people for all the attacks that they're throwing at us, but what about the ones we're throwing at ourselves? You'd be surprised. And it could be things like, oh, you screw up something in your finances, you make a bad decision, or and you start punishing yourself. I'm this, I've screwed it up again, I'm terrible, I can never get it right. Well, you know, of course the irony is that the more we attack ourselves with that negative energy, the more it pulls into our system So the more likely we are to do that very thing again. Because that's the dominant thoughts, the dominant frequencies that are within our space. So the mind is just accessing the dominant thoughts. So if we constantly reassure ourselves that we're overweight, unattractive, or aging, well, the cells in our body are going, yeah, we're aging, all right, I'll give you the experience of what you believe to be true, what you're focusing on. Or you have the constant attack, I'm always screwing things up, I always fail, and I'm bound to screw the next thing up, becomes the only thoughts that the mind can draw upon. Where what you really want is you want your mind to be drawing on the higher self thoughts, truthful thoughts, the enlightened inspiration, pure possibility. So we're creating a different future. We're creating a different outcome than what we've constantly been experiencing. So that's a big reminder, as the next time you look at yourself, is to be filling yourself up with those positive self-loving thoughts. Because the only way to truly get out of that negative situation is not through beating yourself up, is not through self-hate, but to be sending your body that energy of self-love. And as I've said many, many times, the body thrives on self-love and deteriorates under conditions of self-hate. So, energetic attacks and energetic intrusions doesn't need to be something that buffets us all around. It can be something that we're immune to, and that really starts with having an awareness of where are the attacks, where are the attacks happening, what's at the cause of them, and how do I heal that? Because the more I can heal that belief, that sense of guilt, that sense of obligation, thinking about people that you really shouldn't be thinking about, the more you do that, the more you become far more energetically protected. Now, there is a great visualization that I can happy to share with you to help you on that path. But at the end of the day, if you can get to the inner reality, that's going to make the biggest difference. But in the meantime, there's a great visualization, and that is really to use the color, if you call it a color, gold, frequency of gold. Now, if we can cocoon ourselves in this visualization of gold, like if you imagine, it could be a gold cone, it could be gold plated, gold bricks, whatever you're feeling, is to visualize protecting yourself in this frequency of gold. And why that works is because the frequency of gold is a higher frequency than negative thought. So negative thought is what's hurting you, but if you create a barrier of other thought, you're kind of fighting fire with fire, if you like. If you create a barrier of other thought, which is a higher vibrational frequency, then that stops that lower frequency from getting in. And you can use that when you're at night, when you're going on an aeroplane, wherever you're going, the next family function, and you actually see, wait a minute, hang on, I can feel stronger. You won't feel impacted as much. So that's something to play with for sure, coating yourself in gold. But like I said, there are some deeper levers, if you like, deeper strategies we can go into to create a much more robust space within and without. So I hope that conversation's been very helpful. And again, that's something we teach in the self-mastery in a greater level. But with UI, by all means, connect into your own higher self and see what is needed to keep yourself protected. Ultimately, this is what UI is about, is for you to access the answers for yourself and to see tailor-made what is going to be in your highest good.